65 is a sci fi survival movie about how Adam Driver killed the dinosaurs by shooting them all with a gun. Alright, really, it's about two humans trying to survive after their spaceship crash lands on prehistoric Earth. A futuristic man must escort a young girl to an escape shuttle while fighting off dinosaurs and other primeval threats along the way. Sounds weird, right? Because it is. But it's also an interesting concept that's competently directed and has two lead actors delivering great performances. I enjoyed 65 for being the outlandish science fiction survival thriller that it is. It's not a movie that's going to set the world on fire or anything, but it's not terrible either. So you might be wondering what 65 is about. Well, it opens up with Mills, a spacecraft pilot played by Adam Driver, spending a day at the beach with his wife and daughter on a planet that clearly isn't Earth.
Right.
We learn that Mills's daughter Naveen, portrayed by Chloe Coleman, is suffering from some kind of terrible illness. As a result, Mills is forced to accept a mission transporting a group of individuals across the galaxy, or solar system, or universe. We are given no idea how far he's actually traveling, just that it's far, but the pay is so good that he has to accept the job so that he can afford his daughter's treatments. That's right. They are a space traveling civilization, but they still die from cancer like diseases. I thought this was a little bit ridiculous, but okay, we can go with it. Cut to the latter portion of Mills's mission, transporting the group of humanoids from the Northern Territories, whatever that means. I couldn't figure out why a space traveling civilization would have cardinal directions for their space empire. Anyway, though, the ship encounters an uncharted asteroid field and is damaged, forcing it to crash land on Earth 65 million years ago. Mills is wounded but survives the crash, and after checking with the ship's computer system, learns that apparently nobody else did. He sends out a distress message explaining the situation, but does not request to be rescued because he's the only survivor, which seems odd because doesn't this guy have a family to get back to? It's only after he sends the message that conveniently he receives a notification from the ship's computer that a single passenger's pod did in fact survive the crash. Mills then sets out to find the other survivor and explore the alien planet. He also discovers that one of the ship's escape shuttles, conveniently as well, survived the crash and is operable but far away. And after recovering Koa, the young girl played by Ariana Greenblatt, Mills finds the motivation that he needs to get off the planet. They soon realize that they're unable to speak each other's languages and are going to be forced to rely on basic communication like one-word commands and hand signals, and with only a shared understanding that they must remain silent and continue moving, Mills and Koa set out into a dinosaur-infested landscape to reach the escape shuttle, 15 kilometers away, or a little over 9 miles from our fellow Americans. On the journey, they encounter a variety of natural hazards, from the environment itself to hungry dinosaurs to massive parasitic bugs. And as if that wasn't enough, the asteroid cluster that caused their ship to crash turns out to be just a small part of the massive asteroid that struck Earth 65 million years ago, putting Mills and Koa on the clock to get off the planet before the catastrophic collision.
Okay. You had me going there for the first part. The second half kind of threw me.
Through and through, 65 is a survival movie with a sci fi twist. Two individuals who can't communicate easily find themselves stranded in a strange environment full of wild creatures that want to eat them alive, and they have to work together to reach a vessel that can return them to civilization before it's too late. You could swap out the details of this movie without really changing the plot whatsoever. Make the dinosaurs bears or wolves, have the time constraint be an infection instead of an asteroid. It's all pretty standard stuff for the genre. But there is something about the prehistoric setting mixed with the futuristic main character that makes it feel like something you'd expect to see on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and that's what I like the most about 65. I think this movie deserves to be commended for its ambition, but it still falls short of being, memorable. There's just nothing groundbreaking that happens in it. Still, 65 is entertainingly dumb without ever becoming frustratingly stupid, which is okay. Movies can be dumb and fun. Stupid is where you run into problems. Being stranded on prehistoric Earth and fighting off dinosaurs with futuristic technology is admittedly a dumb concept, but it's fun. Stupid, on the other hand, would be disregarding the rules that you've already established within your story and insulting the general intelligence of your audience. Although they might be absurd, 65 plays within its own rules.
What are the rules? You know what I mean? Like, if we
Right.
don't have a system in place, society collapses, right?
The truth is, the fictional world that 65 takes place in is a convoluted mess that opens the door to all kinds of questions. Who is this race of humanoids that have spread out across the galaxy? Are they our ancestors? If so, why haven't we changed in 65 million years? In a lot of ways, I kind of respect 65 for just making us deal with it because they don't bother explaining any of it. It's just what we're given at the start of the movie and asked to accept. However, we're also given a mostly clear idea of how advanced the technology is, how it works, and that biologically Mills and Koa are basically human. The script even manages to pay off what it sets up in some pretty satisfying ways throughout the story. Unfortunately, despite this, 65 just isn't as exciting as it probably could be. The movie is paced well over its 90-minute runtime, with the action sprinkled throughout appropriately. You're never starved for it or overloaded with it, but I couldn't help but feel like 65 could have just offered more in general, more dinosaur encounters, more badass sci-fi weapons, and just a little more context. Don't get me wrong, I prefer when outlandish concepts like the ones in 65 are left vague, but this movie doesn't bother explaining shit. I suppose it's always fun to speculate on a movie's vaguer aspects, but on the other hand, it's also pretty frustrating to get presented with interesting ideas and then given absolutely no explanation for them. And that's when your fun, dumb movie can start to slip into just plain stupid. 65 saving grace is the performances from its two main cast members. Adam Driver delivers a solid performance as Mills, this movie's strong male protagonist. I know, rare seeing one of those in a movie these days, but here he is. And throughout the story, he demonstrates that he's capable. Ariana Greenblatt is refreshingly pleasant in the young child sidekick role. Koa is naive and scared. It's understandable given the scenario that she's been placed in, but she's also smart, proving herself to be someone who learns from her mistakes. She takes in what Mills teaches her and never crosses into that cringe place that little girls all too often do in modern movies. Amazing just because. Koa manages to grow in this story because of the adversity she faces, not despite it. And Mills is positively influenced by Koa. And the only way that she's going to survive is by doing exactly what Mills tells her to do. He's a grown man who's been trained to use a variety of futuristic weapons. This movie doesn't try to place them on even footing. Their power dynamic is clear. Mills is in charge. But she's not totally helpless. They use her small size to get around a few obstacles. And at one point, she helps Mills reset his dislocated shoulder while a pack of Nothosaurus bear down on them. Mills and Koa's surrogate father-daughter relationship is the heart of 65. In just a little bit of time, the movie manages to bond the characters and gives us a reason to care about them. Again, 65 is a fun idea that just doesn't have enough fun with what it has to offer. One example of that is the tech that's featured in this movie. On one hand, it's futuristic, but not to the extent that it feels like it's magic or anything. Hell, when Mills first adventures out onto the Earth with his laser gun, upon encountering a small velociraptor, he beats the thing to death with the butt of his gun. It was a nice touch that gave Mills' combat training some realism to balance out his tech. Speaking of which, includes a hologram projector, some kind of handheld computer, parameter sensors, and little concussive grenade-like explosives. It's good stuff, but I still wanted more. I was hoping for at least a few different types of weapons that the characters could use against, the dinosaurs. It feels like a missed opportunity to diversify your bonds in this fictional universe. There wasn't even a futuristic melee weapon featured. Instead, we just got stuck with the discount pulse rifle and explosive balls.
That's brilliant. It's in the movie done.
The dinosaurs are pretty hit or miss as well. And when it comes to dinosaurs, you go all in. I love seeing stuff like accurately small raptors, but then other dinosaurs look completely made up. Seriously, can somebody tell me for sure, is this thing a real dinosaur? It's part of 65's overall problem. The dinosaurs, while cool looking, never feel real. We don't get a single practical effect in this movie. At least as far as the dinosaurs go, not a single puppet of a claw or animatronic dinosaur head in sight. It severely weakens the dinosaur's screen presence and softens the tension in every scene with them. But probably the biggest mistake in 65 is the existence of flowers on Earth 65 million years ago. There's a nice scene in the movie between the two main characters that involves a flower, but here's the thing, dinosaurs and flowers never existed together. It's as ridiculous as saying humans existed during the time of the dinosaurs and fought them with laser guns.
That's brilliant. It's in the movie done.
I'm kidding, of course, but that's a perfect example of a stupid detail in an otherwise simply dumb movie. Despite some of 65's obvious problems, like its insane premise and outright disregard for scientific accuracy, I liked it. The movie adeptly introduced its characters and the technology that they have access to, and the characters' motivations are clear. Their actions have consequences, and their decisions matter to the story. Like how Mills and Koa each discover that their cultures have two different ways of whistling through their hands quite loudly, and then later, when they're separated, they use those loud whistles to communicate with each other and reunite. In fact, there's only one scene in this whole thing where I thought to myself, come on, that's a little too convenient. For the most part, I was genuinely impressed with the way things came back around in relevant ways to the plot. So, would I recommend 65? Well, that depends. Do you love strange sci-fi? Then yes. Are you a big fan of dinosaurs? Then definitely yes. Do you like survival movies? Absolutely yes. Do you seek out schlock? Then 65 is for you. For most people, though, it's going to be a pretty mediocre viewing experience because while I appreciated that 65 didn't get bogged down with unnecessary details, it also creates a situation for itself where you can't understand the fictional world that these characters exist in, and that's disengaging. I mean, it's hard to relate to a character in a story when you don't even really know what that character is. All the same, I had fun watching 65. But I also love me some dinosaurs, so the inclusion of them in any movie is always a major bonus for me. That being said, 65 is way better than any of the crap that's come out of the Jurassic World franchise. 65 is a lot more thoughtful than I expected and delivers a compelling story that has enough thrills to keep you entertained for the entirety of its 90-minute runtime. It also shows that Adam Driver still has a lot of potential to offer as a leading man. The movie gets pretty bleak at times, but ultimately champions a theme of perseverance and survival against the harsh reality of nature. I'm in full support of movies like 65 and hope that we get more like it, offering one-off adventures with the goal of amusing audiences. Not everything needs to be a franchise with 5 complimentary TV shows attached to it. Sometimes you just want a movie that's dumb and fun. And I'm happy to say, my friends, that 65 is one of those movies.